Your reaction to David Weiss being named as special counsel here?
Well, this appointment is camouflage and it's cover-up. I think it's disgraceful. Listen, David Weiss was the U.S. attorney handpicked to lead this investigation, who spent the last 5 years covering it up. David Weiss, who was personally selected by the two Democrat senators from Delaware, Tom Carper and Chris Coons. Not only that, David Weiss is the one that is subject to two whistleblower complaints from senior career IRS officials who came forward. They said they'd never seen an investigation like this in their entire time in law enforcement.
That was Texas Senator Ted Cruz joining Maria on Sunday Morning Futures, sounding off on the appointment of a special counsel on Hunter Biden. House Oversight Chair James Comer is also blasting the special counsel appointment, writing in a statement, quote, "This move by Attorney General Garland is part of the Justice Department's efforts to attempt a Biden family cover-up in light of the committee's mounting evidence." Joining me now is Ohio Congressman Warren Davidson. He's a member of the House Financial Services and Foreign Affairs Committees and the task force to combat Mexican drug cartel members. Congressman, a lot to get to with you this morning. But the biggest question mark is they could have appointed anyone to be the special counsel, yet they appoint David Weiss, the same guy who struck that horrific deal that the judge shot down for Hunter Biden, who's basically getting off with a hand slap on the gun charge.
Yeah, I mean, this was Senator Ted Cruz summed it up nicely. I mean, this was a crooked appointment. It might as well have just appointed a member of the Biden crime family to run the investigation. Basically, we fear that he's just going to find evidence and destroy it rather than prosecute. And when I talk to constituents all over Ohio this summer, they're ready for a trial. I mean, most of the folks I've talked to in my counties feel like there's enough for a conviction in any one of our counties. So people are frustrated. They see this two-tiered justice system and, frankly, pretty transparently see the Justice Department working to subvert justice instead of promote it, and very selectively applying it. I mean, Fox has done a nice job of laying out the coincident indictments against Trump. Every time there's something that comes out on the Biden criminal enterprise, there's a charge against Donald Trump, and newly creative ways to find charges or anything else. So it definitely is an orchestrated tactic to try to cover what's going on with the Bidens. And look, we should demand justice on all fronts, but I hope that we can get a real special counsel. The other thing is the citation that the Attorney General used would call for someone outside the Department of Justice. He made a reference to that statute, and so hopefully there's a way to actually get Weiss removed.
Well, but your colleagues, your Democratic colleagues across the aisle from you there are going to tell you, or in Washington, I know you're not in Washington, they're going to tell you, well, you wanted a special counsel, you wanted a big investigation, you have it. What do you say to that?
Yeah, well, the sad part is in Congress, we won't really be able to do much about it on either side of the aisle. We're dependent upon getting an attorney general. Frankly, we haven't had a good attorney general in a while. So hopefully we can get somebody there that's actually restoring confidence to the Department of Justice. I mean, what an epic failure for a long run of attorneys general who have, rather than inspiring confidence in the public that we're running a Department of Justice focused on justice, that we're really running a political hit operation. That's part of the mandate that Christopher Wray had when he took over as director of the FBI. That definitely is not going well. Confidence in the FBI has to be at an all-time low. No one trusts Christopher Wray. A lot of people want to trust the rank and file folks, but we keep seeing leadership problems at the FBI, and that's just emblematic of the Department of Justice as well. So
and I'm glad you
I
said
think we
that.
have to change course.
Sir, but Congressman, I'm glad you said that, because there are a lot of hardworking men and women at the FBI, to be clear. But I want to move on to what we're seeing this week from President Biden. So he's going to be marking the one-year anniversary of the Inflation Reduction Act on Wednesday. He's going to be having a big celebration at the White House on the same day. But you've got new analysis from Moody's that says for the month of July, U.S. families spent more than $700 on the same goods compared to what they spent 2 years ago, more than $200 last year. And even President Biden himself says that basically this isn't the Inflation Reduction Act. We shouldn't have called it that because it's a climate bill. It was a climate bill, Congressman.
Yeah, we all saw through it. It was the Green New Deal package, and it wasn't as big as he wanted, but it was as big as he could get. So let's be clear, he would have wanted even more fuel to dump on this inflation fire. Bidenomics is all about inflation. If you look, we've got the highest interest rates, the lowest credit rating, the highest debt to GDP ratio. Homes are 5.8 times the median income. In 08-09, they were just about 4 times the median income. Yeah. There aren't metrics that are going better for Joe Biden. They might be, the rate of increase in inflation might be tapering down, but look what the Federal Reserve has done with the spike in interest rates, the decrease in money supply. So it's not yet down at the same level of money supply before all this printing went on. And so some contraction is needed to get inflation under control of the supply. But when you turn off the economy and you turn on the money printer, it's going to cause inflation. You know, that's when I created the Sound Money Caucus in July of 2020. And, you know, the brilliant folks at the Fed and Treasury said, oh, it won't cause inflation. We said it will. I said, well, but it won't hit people. It clearly has.
It did.
And then they had the nerve to say that it was transitory.
And it did. Hey, before you run, I do want to ask you this real quick, especially because you're on House Financial Services. $40 billion is what the White House wants in new funding. But $24 billion of that goes to Ukraine. $12 billion for disaster relief. You can make that argument maybe, but $4 billion for the border. Just $4 billion for the border. Okay, and then Axios is reporting part of that border money would go towards temporary housing for illegal migrant families. What is your reaction to this request from the White House, sir?
Just discuss, Cheryl. I mean, look, we just finished a debt ceiling negotiation where we raised the debt ceiling in exchange for caps to future spending, cuts to current spending. This is just a transparent attempt to bypass the deal that we just cut and spend outside of those caps. And while I am glad that there's some money there for border security, it's not really for border security. It's just as dishonest as calling the Inflation Reduction Act about inflation. This is a migrant relocation program, and the cities are being overwhelmed. The places that said they wanted to be sanctuary cities can't cope. So here's some money to give to these cities to house people. It's not meant to actually secure the border or change the policy.
Right. It's just, your $12 billion is what the cost is going to be to New York in particular. I'm glad you brought that up. Congressman Davidson, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
All right.